offered, what you are shown, you maybe contact the agent or just do the tour, whatever is going to be the next step. However, I think the pandemic has an effect on the so many jobs that they can work remotely, but they don't want to work like in another state or very far away, right? For example, if someone works at Facebook, they are right now allowed to work remotely, but maybe there are some meetings they want to attend, or maybe they have flexible schedule. So part of the job could be remotely, part of it would be done in the office. So I was proposing this project because I think maybe there is a new trend in the markets. Many of these tech companies in some of the tech cities like San Francisco, Seattle, even LA, some areas, now they don't need to be very close to the jobs. They can be 50 miles away, still think that's reasonable, but at the same time, they can afford a better house with lower prices. So what we are going to do in this project, of course, this is a very huge project, but what we are going to do, the first step is to first build that uh, listing of the properties. So what you can do, you go to either Zillow or Redfin, or if you have another preference, find 2,000 listings, right? We have to first specify what city we want to work on. But after we do that, we can say, okay, in LA or in San Francisco or in San Jose, whatever is the case, let's just find 1,000 listing, 2,000 listings, right? So we have a good pool of properties. And I'll tell you what type of attributes you want to collect. So, of course, the property-related attributes are going to be shown on these websites. But then another problem comes to play is that, okay, so if I am in tech industry, I want to live maybe 50 miles away, but also have a kid, right? So I need to also consider the quality of the schools nearby. I also need to consider maybe I have a certain lifestyle or have a preference over certain demographics. I want to probably be in those areas, right? So these are other attributes, neighborhood related attributes I'm going to give you. So for every location, for example, think about a specific zip code in San Francisco, you will have those attributes. Now, when we search for the property, not only we are looking at the price range, but also we ask the person who's searching, okay, what are the attributes you have preference of? For example, if I have a small kid, maybe the elementary school would be the major one. I don't care if the high school right now is not good quality or the rating is not that high, but I care the most about elementary schools. Or I care about the median income. I want to live in an area that the median income is between that range, or education level, or internet access. So all of these are the attributes I'm going to give you. So let me go over that pretty quickly so you can get rid of my dark image. So let me share my screen. And here, this is the platform that allows me to get the data. So you are going to get a lot of data from me, and don't worry, these are going to be ready to use, but I'm going to show you what it means. And then if someone is really interested, we can also, I think I can request a license for one of you so you can get access to these platforms. I think maybe Jacqueline, she was in my class. She's used to maybe some of the GIS tools. I'm not sure if I don't think we have used ArcGIS Business Analytics Online, but we have used a story map. But so let's say for this is LA area, right? So Glendale, Burbank, Los Angeles. I have set range of income, owner-occupied housing units, and median age. These are not the attributes we're going to use, but just wanted to show you for demonstration purposes. So your final solution, final product, it doesn't have to show these exact location on the map, but it could be a list of these areas, right? For example, and this is large, so let's change that to zip codes, so much more meaningful. All right, so this is the zip code 90046 around downtown LA, I believe West Hollywood. And these are the attributes for that. So if someone is interested in those type of attributes, then they need maybe an income between 75 to 85,000, and let's say median age, they want to live in an area that people are within the same age group, maybe 30 to 50. That's a good area, right? And then you match that with the properties. Now we can, instead of showing all of those properties around the city of LA, we are looking at the properties within that boundary. I think we are just now putting together two sets of attributes. One about the property, we have a pool of 2,000 units. Now, based on the attributes of the neighborhoods, because we're looking at the zip code, we can say, okay, from those properties that we have, which one matches our criteria of income or internet access or whatever is going to be the one that we select. So I'm just going to pause for a second. Is there any question you want to maybe jump in, and we can have a little bit more discussion? And definitely don't worry about the data set. Definitely that is going to be maybe as soon as I give you the data set, you can make sense out of it, but it's going to be as Excel spreadsheet. It's ready to use. So I think that makes it easy, and then I'll show you in a minute what it looks like. So is there any question?
Yeah, I got a question. So basically, you're going to give
Yes.
us the spreadsheet,
Mm-hmm.
which I think so basically, this is going to be with the spreadsheet where you can search within the parameters that you already give us, right? It's not going to be something live where if a random person wanted to search
Yeah. So
91762 where I live.
exactly. So it's going to be right now it's static listings, right?
Okay.
So we have 2,000 units. This is going to be our pool. And then also we have certain characteristics for neighborhoods. That's why it's very important to know where you want to focus on. So you find the listing within that area. Also, the attributes that you're looking at right now is going to be for those areas. So for example, you decide, I want to work with maybe specific areas in San Francisco or Seattle or I don't know, wherever you want, North Carolina, Charlotte, or whatever is the area you pick. Or you can, I suggest you to pick at least two areas, because that gives you a good variety that shows when the project is finished, shows that you are capable of showing good result, not only for California, but maybe another state as well. But I think, frankly, this could be like a good idea if scaled up to get funding and then maybe get some investors, because for my experience, I'm not a real estate agent, but I've been doing some studies and research since 2006 on the real estate. And I know that people are not just looking at the price. There are so many other attributes. What they do, after they find a certain locations, they now do another round of research. Okay, does the school area in this property a good one? So the quality of the schools, or maybe how far is it from the highway? Or if I want to drive, they just manually calculate the distance, or maybe if there's a traffic pattern, they just identify that after they find a location potential home. But what we are doing right now is kind of merge these two together, and of course, and the additional attributes could be added later on, but this is going to be the basis of that.
Can I ask questions?
Absolutely.
I have a lot to ask. First, we're provided data sets 2,000 by you, or we have to find them?
No, you have to find it yourselves. So what you can do, like the way that I went to Zillow, you specify location. I didn't filter based on any of these, so it gives me the full range of listings. But you can also filter, for example, maximum price for the property I'm searching in Claremont is $1 million, so that you can do that as well. So you get less number of listings, but I wouldn't suggest you do that. So you get these listings, and then you don't have to save the pictures or anything else, but you can do for each one of them. I'll share with you the description of that in a second. So these are the attributes for the property, right? some of the facts and features. So we know the type of the property, the year built, possibly HOA, the price, of course, the bed and bath, the square footage. The address is very critical to get that, the exact address. And maybe there are some other attributes. I know that the school also have some attributes of great school rating, so you can store these as well. And then each one would be one of the columns in your database, right? So one of the column would be about the elementary school rating. One would be about the intermediate school rating. These are the neighborhood characteristics you get, but also I supplement that with income and much more interesting variables I think would be possibly useful for the potential buyer. And then let me show you this one. I did not share with you I think Jacqueline had a suggestion to share with you this detailed project description, but I wanted to kind of have this meeting before I share that with you. I think that is going to be a next step. I'll also send you the actual document. So you already have received this first 2 pages descriptions, but now think about the action items, right? So you crawl data from real estate website. You pick what you wanted to do, whatever you have. You can even go to Craigslist and find those, right? But might be more, I think, easy to get that from Zillow or Redfin because they have a good structure. And then let's see, 1,000 cities, 1,000 listings, because I said two. Oh, okay, so I think I have specified 1,000 listings, so that's even better. So if we pick 2 cities, high-tech cities, it's going to be around 500. It doesn't have to be 500 exactly, but it will be a total of 1,000 listings for both cities. And you can just get the kind of some of the high-tech cities. You probably know them, but it makes sense to have some reference. So we know, okay, Austin, Texas, Boston, Los Angeles, Colorado, Seattle. These are the known hub for technologies. And the reason I select the tech type of industry for the jobs is that allows for more flexibility to work remotely, right? So you pick one of these 2 cities, and I'm sorry, you pick 2 of these cities, and then for each listing, you get these attributes I showed you, right? So overview text, there might be some explanation about the seller, about the property, and there's going to be a text. So you just gather that, the type of the property, is it a condo, is it a single family home, whatever it is. The ID of the property would be something you create or you can get from the website. Some of them, they have property ID, the tax code, whatever. So you decide, but that should be unique. Okay. So let me see if there is anyone for this listing.
Is it like the MLS number? I think.
I think MLS is for the real estate agents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's just the license for the real estate
Okay.
agents. Yeah, it's not for the property. But let's see. You can say, okay, so 1 2000 would be my unique IDs, right? But that one is the unique code. Let me see. I don't think it's provided, not provided on the public platform. Yeah, I think you can get it, but don't worry about that. Just create a random number, but that should be unique. Okay. So let's go back here. Add the zip code. So you can get the zip code from the address. So you already saved the address, right? And this is going to be the zip code. The reason we need the zip code because that helps us to match to the variable we get here, right? I can give you much more detailed description like the block group, right? But that is going to be, I believe, much more detailed, which we may not need for the first round of searching the exact location. So a couple of properties together means block group. But zip code would be much easier to explore and join with the other attributes. So let's just stick with the zip code for geographical unit. Let's go back here. And these are the things that you can get easily from those listings. And there's going to be 1,000 units, so it's not a lot of hassle, I would say. However, I would suggest if you can automate that process, there are some, of course, APIs you can get the information, just pour it into the actual variable. If you automate it, that might be much more useful in the future when you want to scale it up. You can copy and paste this, right? So it's not going to be a lot of trouble for 1,000. I think there are 5 of you in this group, right? So it would be 200 per each person. But it is much more useful. We can automate that process. If you can, that's one. Either way works for you. You choose. And then the community neighborhood details still coming from the listing websites. And as I said, I will supplement that with the attributes of that platform I showed you. School rating from the website. I think Redfin have the same uh, type of attributes. So let me just search here. Let's say, okay, Claremont. Let's pick one listing here. All right, so I think it's going to be very similar attributes. I don't care a lot about interior details, but you can, if you optimize that process, you can still save these, right? But we are mostly concerned about external variables, like neighborhood type of variables, right? But of course, interior could be a factor for a potential buyer, but we don't care about that at this stage. Maybe can be added when potential locations are shown to the buyer. So we have the exterior, I think, so it has much more neighbor community variables, but does not have the school rating, right? That tells us, okay, if you want to get the rating for the
Estoy en una
schools to be
cita,
able
dile
to
que estoy en una
filter it,
cita.
now you have to maybe add another process to that. But if you use Zillow, these are already provided. So it makes your life easier, right? So if Zillow already gives you the school related categories based on grade school rating. So like 8 out of 10. So you can save that for the variable elementary school rating. 6 out of 10, you can save that for intermediate school rating and so on. So I'm just gonna stop for a second here. These are the attributes that are probably going to captured by you from the listing website. Is there any question about that part?
Can elementary school, middle school, and high school count as attributes for the ratings? Since you mentioned the ratings, 6 out of 10,
Yes.
can it count as attributes?
Yes.
Great.
So you get the actual rating from those categories
Mm.
because we want to filter, right? So if I want to live in an area that I care a lot about just high school, I don't care about the rating of 2 out of 10 for elementary school because my child has passed that level, so you don't care about that, right? I only care about high school rating more than maybe 7 or 8.
Is walkability score an attributes?
You can capture it. I don't know if that's going to be. Remember, this is a project you are in charge of maybe adding and editing some of the attributes, and you're going to do a little bit of research on that. I don't know if the walkability in the US, specifically in the metro city, is going to be a huge factor, specifically when we are thinking about going further away from the center of the cities, right? In the downtown San Francisco, of course, walkability score would be very high, but no one wants to live there. But if you go further away in the rural areas or a little bit further from the center, now you don't have a very high walkability score, but you have access to a lot of other attributes that's probably going to help you just build your family or maybe even have a side business, whatever. But I don't know. You can capture it and you decide if you want to add it as maybe some person is really uh, into the walkability score could be added as one filter, but I don't know.
Because the thing is, in the document it quotes at least walkability score of 7, so that is a condition. page 2 or page 1. Page 1, last paragraph. Walkability score 7. So there is a condition.
I think this is an example. You are right. This is just an example to kind of explain to you what are the attributes we can get from the neighborhood. Does not mean that we want to get all of these attributes. For example, uh, you are going to choose what would be
Prueba
as
los
the
protein
user,
balls.
right? As the user who
No,
wants to
refri.
find that property,
Prueba los
you want to
protein bars.
choose what range
Son
of the median
salsicos.
income you want to live in. Or is the walkability score would be an attribute that you're uh, very interested in? If not, of course, you don't need to capture that. But I wouldn't say walkability in many major cities is going to be a major factor determining the place of living.
Okay, so it's not necessity.
Yes, it's not necessary. These are example attributes.
Okay.
For example, 50-mile proximity to job address.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is just an example. You are going to ask the user when they build a profile, if they put their working address, then there's going to be an additional step to calculate for each listing to calculate the distance to the work, right? But you're not going to do that right now. This is going to be done in the future steps. Yes.
So if I'm hearing it correctly, we come up with a thousand listing properties, and then throughout those properties, we figure out what are the attributes we want, and we can either in an Excel spreadsheet or use an API to automate the process, whichever is easier. And then for you, what would make a successful first round? Like what would be successful for this round? Like when we present to you the listings and the formatting, or
Yes, I would say first focus on the listings and finding out the process to get the attributes. And as soon as you get that figured out, maybe I don't know how you distribute the work between yourself. One person might want to do the data crawling, and two of you would focus on that to focus on how you connect that to the website you're going to build. So that website, similar to I showed you on the Zillow, you can search for, okay, right here. Uh, so the first page on Zillow, you can search for the attributes as the person who is going to buy, potential buyer, the attributes you have in mind. Here, instead of putting the exact address or neighborhood, you're going to ask to determine the median income, the 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 school rating, for example, elementary school rating, or the working address, and then I say, okay, I search for that. And then those listings are going to be shown. You already have 1,000 listings. And this is going to be focused on 2 cities. But as soon as we get that, now we can add those demographic variables and add the other variables that I showed you here on top of the neighborhood characteristics. So it's going to be an additional filter to, instead of looking at all these listings, you are able to filter based on the median income, based on the internet access, based on having computer at home, based on, uh, but I think these attributes, I need to discuss with you what you think. I have some ideas in mind, but I would say it is going to be beneficial if maybe the whole team or a couple of you wants to have a separate meeting with me so we can go through the list of attributes. There are thousands of attributes. I showed you more generic ones, but also you can tell me which attributes you feel based on your research would be important for a potential buyer, where they want to live. Is it going to be determined by the median income of the people who are living there, or maybe even race could be a factor for some people, right? So I'm not proposing that is going to be a correct factor, but might be a decision-making factor. So we can get all of these attributes. And I'll give you that as, let me show you what it looks like. It may sound a little bit confusing at the first, but I think after you kind of get the sense of the first step, just get the listings, then you are going to have a much easier steps joining these. So as I said, zip code will be our ID to join these. So I can give you, let's say, for example, similar to these spreadsheets, I give you, okay, so crime could be a factor. I don't want to live in an area where the
Crime rate is high.
crime or property crime is higher than what, right? I can have at least have a way of interacting with those variables. So the filters would be the one that helping me. Let's say education level, access to hospital, uh, maybe owner occupied housing units. I don't want to live in an area where there are a lot of renters, right? I'm just proposing these. I'm not saying these are going to be the attributes you're going to be using, but this could be a determining factor. All right. So first step, I'll send you the document. Let's go back to that for a second. I'll send you this document. We have the first 2 pages, so that's not a new one. You pick the 2 cities you want to get the listings from. You just start getting the information. And this is the action item, the most important action item that you need to do. And then we are going to work on this part. We get the attributes from the user. What is going to be the one that someone has in mind to find a property? Is it about the price only? These are the default ones usually, right? But also some of the community neighborhood preferences. This is going to be next step. And then these are going to come from the data set I give you. As soon as I know which cities you focus on, I'll give you all of those attributes. Okay. And yeah, so this is going to be the first step. And let's see, let me fix this one. And if you want to start maybe thinking about a website, so you can host these listings, doesn't have to have a picture as long as it does have information. Even you can save the link to the listing. I think that makes your life easier when you maybe pull up that listing. Someone just puts that, click on that, and boom, right away gets to that location. But the attributes that help us to filter, you definitely want to save those. And separate from the address, separate the zip code, save it in another field, because that is going to be used for joining to this data set. Right? So you have the zip codes, even the neighborhood, but you're going to use that zip code number to join these two, and now you have one data set that helps you to query it. Okay. So do you think 2 weeks is enough time for at least getting the listing for 2 cities?
In other words, get
Yeah.
2,000, do 2,000 this.
So you prefer 1,000? Your document says 1,000. I know you mentioned earlier 2,000. So just for good measure, are we sticking to 1,000? And if we have a little bit more, then great. Or are we aiming for 2?
If you are able to optimize it, you can get any where you want. But if you want to do it manually, I think that makes a lot of effort. So I would say don't go over 2,000. That's definitely a lot of work. But anything between 1,000, 2,000, that works.
Okay.
1,000 per table. So there's 2 data sets, so 1,000 per each data table.
What do you mean?
You mentioned we have to get 2,000 in total, right? So
Uh-huh.
there's 2 data sets for comparing, 2 different cities.
No. So we have 2 different cities.
Right.
It's going to be one data set, but you have all of the listings, maybe 500 or 1,000 from one city, and then other.
1,000 for another.
Yeah, so robots are all in the same data set.
Got
But
it.
if you go to the website you create, someone search, okay, I want to live in Austin, Texas, because that's where my job would be, and I want I want to work remotely, but I still want to live in that city. So you don't pay attention to the other city you have. For example, you have San Francisco. You don't care about that. Does that make sense?
Got it. So we're gonna pick two high-tech cities from that list,
Hmm.
whether it's Texas, Seattle, LA, and then from that two cities, we're gonna find 1,000 listings, and it could either be broken up 500 per city or whichever works out.
Exactly. So you may have more listing for one city. It doesn't have to be exact number, but at least a good variety that kind of total would be around 1,000.
Got it. And then no max in 2,000 listings. If we can automate it, then with an API, then we can do 2,000.
Hmm.
And if we are doing it manually through like an Excel spreadsheet, then we can do 1,000, but we won't
Correct.
exceed 2,000.
Correct.
And then about a
And
two.
as soon as you get to decide what cities you want to get the data from, because you're working on your site to getting these listings, let me know, and then I'll get the variables. First, I'll send you a list of variables, and I have some ideas in mind. So these are going to be the ones that I think would be important for some potential buyer, but you may also have your own idea. I can easily get those variables. So I'll share with you the list of variables. It's going to be a lot of variables, but after you have determined what cities, I'll share with the variable list, and then I get the variables and share with you that. And then of course, after you're done, you join these two together. I think that's where a little bit more visualization would come into play. We can build a website, add those buttons to filter, even create a profile for one person. Okay, so they can put their information. If they come back, they don't have to re-enter that information.
Got it. Okay. And then, does
Kevin,
anyone,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Kevin, do you have something?
I still got a million more questions to ask.
Go
Okay.
ahead. That's why we're meeting. So
Okay.
any question?
Okay. First, do we need to do anything about miles and distance by any chance?
No, not at this stage. Uh, I'm thinking about, so based on the zip code, what we can do, we can find this. So zip code is a boundary, right? It's not one point.
Okay.
So, okay, you need to fix the TV. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. I'm in the middle of meeting, so maybe a couple of minutes. All right. So you get the zip code, but based on the zip code, because it's a boundary, there is a formula we can calculate. It's centroid. It's the middle. If you have like a rectangle, it's going to be the middle. But if it's like the zip code that is not a very regular shape, there's a formula for that. So we can calculate the coordinate of the centroid of the zip code. I know it becomes a little bit confusing, but don't worry, this is going to come after you finish these processes. So we have the coordinate of the centroid, also the work address. If it's a zip code or it's exact location, doesn't matter. You just convert that. Then we have another coordinate. And now based on these coordinates, we can calculate the distance. But the way it works is that we have to use another data set. It's a road network, because you're not going to go from point one to point B straight. So you have to follow the road network, right? So that's why I told you, don't worry about it right now, but we can do it later on. It's not part of your project, but if I can figure it out how to optimize that within your project, I will give you that. But it might be probably because of the road network data set, I might do it myself because we have limited number of listings. I'll do it myself, give you the distances, and then we can just supplement that later. So don't worry about that part.
Will you be providing us any web crawling technologies, or we have to create one from scratch?
I think you have to find it yourself. I can give you some examples. I use Python to
Python,
do that. I don't know if you are familiar with Python.
but yeah.
Yes or no?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. So yes, you can use Python.
Great.
Uh, and for Python, you can get exact location of those variables and just put it into the data frame, right? If you're familiar with the pandas data frame, you just for every variable, you catch that variable port it into that variable of the data frame and just keep crawling and finish that. But I have to also see if we can do it for Zillow, because we also need to take
Yeah,
care of the terms of use. Maybe because right now we're focused on maybe around 1,000 units, we can do that, but I'll figure it out. So let me put that a note for myself.
because I'm
And
thinking of using the module request for Python
mhm,
to get the data set. I'm just wondering how efficient it will be. Because since one of the prompts, it says mentioned that we need a login user, so that means we need to use PHP
mhm.
register login. And then I was thinking, we have the data set, right? So combining that with our program is a little bit tough. With Excel, you have to use Excel and merge them with HTML, CSS, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Fun.
So yes, focus on what you can find, and in the meantime, I will see if I think, because for 1,000 it should be doable, not about the process, but about the terms of use. But I'll figure it out.
Okay, one of the also probably was mentioning that we'll be displaying a map of all the locations from the search. Do we need Tableau for that
No, you don't need Tableau. You can use Python for that as well.
to display? Oh, we can use Python.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there any programming language you recommend mostly other than Python?
I think maybe you are mostly familiar with Java. I'm not sure if you have taken Python, or maybe you have knowledge of Python because you did it yourselves.
Yeah,
But I'm not sure how the group is comfortable about Python or anything else.
we're not confident.
So are you familiar with Java?
Anything but Python.
Anything but Python?
Yeah, and C plus.
Okay,
Like
so
Java, JavaScript, and
I think most of you are familiar mostly with Java because you're in the app development track, right?
Yeah, we never done web crawling before. This is gonna be a first.
Okay, okay. So let me see. I haven't done crawling with Java, but I'm sure there are ways to do that as well. But
I think Python
probably,
will be more efficient, right? Because it's mostly most common to use.
yeah, yeah. But first find those listings and see if you can get it. I think there are some tools you can add to the, for example, Google Chrome, and easily just get the attributes you want.
Okay.
And let me see if I can share with you that later
Professor,
on.
I had a question for you. Are you
Yes.
opposed? Are you opposed? And I'm not sure if there's a program out there that'll do this, but are you opposed to us using something that like a parse hub type tool, where if we if we it's like a tool that already does the coding for you, or not does the coding, but gets these variables and
I'm not opposed to that
okay,
if it's free and open source.
okay,
So it's still like a paid version only one person or one company has access to.
right,
It doesn't really help you, because if you want to do it yourself in the future, you can't really do that. But what happens is that some of these tools are really free and open source. So it's really not. I don't have any kind of idea about uh, posing that you don't have to use that. That doesn't really matter for me. As long as you can get the data, and in the future you can do the same thing and even scale it up, right? That's my goal, to help you. If you know programming, why not crawling? But if you have a free open source tool that you can use, still a valid way of getting the data.
Okay, another question is, since we're displaying a map with Python, I saw on the Zillow we can get longitude and latitude. Will that help us place the location within the map?
Exactly. So if you can get that, that's where
Yeah.
you use that to put the points on the map.
Okay, so we do need that too.
But the way is that it works, that latitude longitude is not XY. So now you have to convert that to XY coordinate.
What does that mean?
Uh,
Is there Z too? Is this 3D? Is this
no, it's not 3D, but
list?
latitude and longitude are the geographic coordinates. What we need to show on the map, which means that that's on the globe,
Globe.
right? because these are angles from the center and from the prime meridian and the Greenwich.
Is there X, Y, and Z with that one?
But XY is when you place that 3D globe on the surface. So you have Cartesian coordinates. XY means that we have two-dimensional coordinates. But there's a process of geocoding that can be done and convert this. But don't worry, if you get the address, you get the latitude, longitude. You can use the in-house codes to do that. It's not a big deal. It's really easy.
Okay.
But just the concept behind is that there are so many steps that has to be taken care of before you can easily show those on the map.
Okay. Also, in Python, is there a way that will automatically place all data into Excel, or are we manually have to force it ourselves to place each individual one?
So in Python, what you can do when you crawl the data, you put that into pandas data frame. When you get the pandas data frame, you can export it as Excel.
Panda. Okay. What is the panda thing?
Pandas is a library for data manipulation in Python.
Okay.
It's much more efficient compared to just using traditional data sets or variables in Python.
So it's a framework for Python, or is it a different kind of framework?
No, it's a framework for Python.
Okay, it's a framework for Python. Okay.
Correct. I couldn't figure out the lights today. Not
It's
sure. All of the lights are on right now. Anyway, I think it's my webcam.
It is. That is okay. We still appreciate your time, and then to be mindful of time. Does anyone else have anything that's a pressing question?
I can still keep asking, but it's gonna take a while.
I would say focus on the data crawling for now.
Yeah.
Don't just wait for me to give you the way to finish that. I think this is the major step to learn how to get the data from these websites.
Mhm.
But also the least efficient way would be just copy and pasting, which is doable, right? 200 per person is not a lot of tasks, I think.
Right.
But if you were to do that, first create a template so everyone uses the same template, same variable name, so you can easily just put them together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Professor.
All
So
right.
we'll work
Absolutely.
on
So
that.
keep in touch, and then I'll send you after you decide what cities you have interest in. I will send you some variable lists, and then I can get the actual variables with the information. But meantime, focus on the data crawling process if you can.
Yeah.
Then, of course, get the data if it's possible. Otherwise, you can just manually copy and paste that.
Can we have a weekly meeting at like this exact time as usual?
I'm not sure because
So I can keep.
right now I have two other committees. I have not seen the actual times of it. So I think we can communicate with email and see what time works for us, but we can have meetings each week as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Got it. Professor, just let me know what your availability is, and we'll work around that.
Okay, sounds good. Because right today I received another confirmation I'm going to be part of another committee. So I'm not sure what time they're going to meet. So I don't want to tell you because it's going to be the time that we're going to meet every week. But we can figure it out.
No worries. Yeah, I just
Absolutely.
go ahead and send us the detailed project list so that way we can just have that for
Okay.
reference.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
then
I can do that.
you're more than welcome to hop off. I'm just going to debrief with everyone here first. That way we're all good. And then we appreciate you, Professor, to come on.